What's up, party people? Jason from Heap of Jeep. Today we are repairing and reinforcing the spring mounts. I already got the leaf springs off. That's in another video. And today we're just going to be repairing the rot. Cutting the rust out, putting new good metal in, and just reinforcing things. I'm not doing a whole lot. I'm not doing the floors. I'm not trying to do too much here because it is still the middle of winter and I don't want to drop the gas tank and do everything I need to do to fix the floors the right way yet. So I'm just reinforcing the spring mounts today, but it'll give you an idea of what's in there and what we'll have to do to get things going. So I'm gonna go grab the welder and the grinder and the safety gear, and we'll get all set up and we'll start having some fun here. So I'm gonna start in the back here, and the area, sorry to shake you around like that. The area I'm going to reinforce is right here. There's the where the leaf spring mounts. Well, there's the frame rail. The mount's actually over here. So all I'm going to do, I already peeled the carpet back a little bit. I'm just going to peel this out of here. And to get that all the way out, you need to take out a bunch of screws up here and the spare tire wrister plate thing. I'm just going to take enough out where I can bend it out of the way. I don't care if it gets beat up. It's just a little cargo area. I just need this opened up enough to get some steel in there. Okay, so here's where we are. The spring mount is right here. It's this little L-shape thing. The bolt for the spring comes through this little hole down here and goes through another little hole over here where there's a welded nut. So without any solid metal tying this mount, the frame's still solid. The mount's still solid. A lot of this metal is still solid, but a lot of it isn't. So I'm going to put a patch. I'm going to weld some steel just right in here around this corner. Get all this crud out of here. And then take some 3/16 steel and put it right across from here all the way to there. Weld it from the top and the bottom, and that should be good. Now the fuel filling line is behind here, so I'm not going to be doing a lot of welding right around here. Like I say, my main concern is this right there. I got to get that tied back into the rest of the Jeep because it's just sort of free floating right now. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit, get it ground down, and then we'll cut some steel and weld it in. Shouldn't take too long. I bought this piece of, it's 3/16 by 5-inch steel, and 3/16 is as thick as my welder, my little Harbor Freight welder can handle, so that's the best we can go with. But I'm just going to weld this in here, stitch it to the frame, stitch it to the mount, and then put a piece of metal in there, come around, and like I say, it's a little reinforcement until I get the floors done. Once the floors are in, it'll cover up all the patchwork I do here, and then we're getting rid of the carpet, I think, and just putting a nice bed liner in there or something. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and drill some holes in here where I need to weld it, and then we'll get the welder out and put this in place. Alright, so I tacked that one in. Got a couple from the bottom too, and then just put a piece here. This really, I don't think is structural, but I still felt better having this tied in because there's obviously some rot there, and when I get the floors, I'll put some thinner sheet metal up there, but for now I think it's good. You know, I'm not going to be hooking any lifting points up and, you know, trying to lift the Jeep from it. It's just to help reinforce the spring mount that's already there, and it's not coming off. And yeah, I mean, it's gonna do what I wanted it to do. So I'm gonna put a layer of paint on that to keep it from rusting till I get to the rest of the floors, and then we'll move up front. So on the front one here, gonna do something real similar. I think from how it looked, the spring must like to have a little travel starting right about here. So I may only reinforce it from there to there, and then do a piece in the back and just leave a little gap there. I don't know. I gotta grind this out. This is that rubber coating they put in, which I don't think did anything, and is just an annoying booger butt to get out. So I gotta get down to good metal here, see how thick it is. I know I got a thin spot over here, so I may throw a little sheet metal up here first before I tie the support into it. But I gotta get it ground down and cleaned up, see what I'm working with. Okay, I cut the steel for this side. For now, I'm just I'm leaving a little gap here. I think the spring sits on top of that. Anyways, when I get to finishing the floors, I'll reinforce that better. I really just don't feel like taking that out, although it would probably make it a lot easier. But just time-wise, I'd rather not deal with it today. So yeah, we're gonna weld this in now, and then the side will be done. I don't know how well it's gonna show up on the camera here, but one patch panel there, one patch panel in the back, and I'll come in with some thinner stuff when I redo the floors later this spring. But for now, that's all good. So after I got the springs off on the passenger side, the front spring mount still pretty good. In fact, that whole bolt came out the easiest of them all. Didn't even bind to the bushing, to the sleeve and the bushing. The back, however, as I was jacking up the vehicle, I don't know if this is going to show on the camera, but if you can see right here, this wants to move a good 1/4 of an inch. And since the Jeep is jacked up, resting on the frame rails in front of the spring mounts, the whole back end is sagging, and my rear hatch, which usually fights me like a bugger to get open, is opening and closing like new. So I'm thinking it's been like this for quite a while, so I've got to reinforce this spring mount. I'll put that 3/16 plate in there, and then I'm gonna have to there was all metal right here, so I'll have to fabricate something out of I think I got some 16 gauge steel, which will probably work pretty well for that. But get it all tied back in to the unibody here. That'll be fun. Okay, I apologize for the shaky video now. My tripod, while I was kicking and screaming and cursing and everything else, I kicked the tripod while it was on the ground and broke one of the legs off. So I got to finish up the videos the same way I used to do them, which is just do the stuff and then show you what I did afterwards. And so here we go. Passenger side. This was the one that was shaking up and down. Just welded some 3/16 steel in there, and then a couple of pieces, let's grab the light, a couple of pieces of angle iron in there, tack welded it up, Again, a pretty pathetic welding job, but I can put all my weight on it. It's not moving. I can lift. It's not moving. So I've got to jack up the axle now, or jack up the axle, and see if I hear any creaking or groaning when I put the weight back on it. Well, I can't do that yet. I got to put the other leaf spring in first. All right. Best laid plans of mice and men. So I guess I'll put the other leaf spring on, and then we'll jack up the axle. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what else I can do right now except put more steel in there if I need to. But I mean, once it's warmer. That's my other car, the blue one. Once I'm driving that, the snow's gone and I'm driving that, then I can take this off the road for as long as I need to actually get all the sheet metal damage done. Because you can see not only the floors, which I knew, but that's light coming in from the fender, the rear fender, so I've got that to take care of too. Anyways, I'm gonna go put the spring in. Well, I have to apologize to everybody. My tripod broke, my camera battery died, and it was like single digits in my garage, and I just wanted to get it done, so I didn't film the part of putting the leaf springs in. But I'll tell you what, putting them in was a whole heck of a lot easier than getting them out. It was one of the most challenging things I've ever done. Not ever done on the Jeep, but ever done. The Sawzall, if you're going to do it and take the Sawzall approach on the rear shackle springs, I suggest you get a lot of blades and get the long ones. The short ones, I kept going through them because I could only get about that much cutting on each one because the saw wouldn't fit in. There's the moose right there. He's the one who's howling at you. So I would suggest getting the longer blades so you can fit more up there and you'll have to change them less often. Out of the 4 bolts that had to come off, the 2 front eye springs and the 2 shackle bolts, the ones that mount the shackle to the frame, only one of them came out fine, and that was the passenger side front eye bolt. Didn't stick to the bushing, got it freed up pretty easily. Took some heat. Again, it's not the corrosion and the rust, it's that red gunk that's on the bolts from the factory. It's some kind of Loctite type thing, and it's going to take heat to get it apart easily. There's definitely rust and corrosion and gunk, but that's the least of your worries when breaking those free. What else can I tell you? The bar pin eliminators, those, again, I was going to show you how I dealt with the bolts and getting them through and punching the old ones out, but somebody else, last time they changed the shocks, I guess, already did that. So it was just a matter of undoing them and putting the bar pin eliminators up there and bolting them back up, so there really wasn't anything to show with that. Anything else? Putting the leaf springs in, it was it was the easiest thing that I've done all weekend. I started this Friday after work, so it was about 7:30 when I got started. Worked on it till about 11:30, maybe midnight, so figure 4 hours on Friday. It was close to 12 hours on Saturday, so that's a total of 16. And then I started at 9 o'clock this morning, and it is now 5 o'clock. Maybe an hour break here or there for lunch, so probably a good, say, 6 hours today. And so that's 22 hours to change the leaf springs, the rear shocks. Now, I did have a lot of welding to do, but it was one thing after another that was getting thrown at me. Things were just going wrong constantly. I had to run to the hardware store a bunch of times. It was a project that, working on my Jeep has been a blast, and maybe I'll look back on this in a few weeks and say, yeah, I'm glad I did that. That was fun. But this is one of those things, had I to do over, I would probably save up the money
and have somebody do it who knew what they were doing. The only issue with my Jeep is I had to repair the frame, and nobody was going to do that. You know, I knew I had to do that myself, but if it came to just changing the leaf springs, I don't, you know, it's up to you. For me, it was a real struggle. You know, I don't know. You know, ask me again in a couple of weeks and I'll probably say, oh yeah, it was easy, do it yourself. I did use a lot of anti-seize on the bolts, so should I ever need to do it again, I shouldn't have to worry about them seizing to the bushing. I shouldn't have to cut anything out of there if I ever have to take those leaf springs off again. That's a big should. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Again, I apologize for not filming the last good chunk of it. I just my tripod, well, I ended up kicking it Friday night and the leg came off. That's the leg to the tripod, so it's now a bipod. And so I hot glued it on there and got a good chunk of it filmed yesterday, and then in my anger again, and it was so cold out there, the hot glue that I used to just kind of give it a splint just kind of shattered when I hit it again. So yeah, it wasn't real expensive to begin with, but it made it real hard to film anything for you guys. So if you have any questions, please write and ask. You can get a hold of me on Facebook under Heap of Jeep. You can go to my website, heapofjeep.com, or you can just leave a comment down here, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that I went through. Like I say, I'm not a mechanic. I watch YouTube videos to learn how to do this stuff, and there just weren't a lot of YouTube videos on changing leaf springs, so I figured I'll give it a shot, and you know, maybe there's an easier way that other people know about, but that's what happened to me. 22 hours worth of happy joy, but I am going to work tomorrow in my Jeep. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you next time. Coming up, video wise, I'm gonna have to do something with the rockers. Probably gonna do 2x6 rectangular steel tubing. For those, I also have to drop the gas tank. I noticed while I was crawling under there, I got a leak in the gas tank. I knew I had a leak, but it's getting worse. So sooner probably rather than later, I'm going to have to drop that gas tank. I've got a new one to put in, but I wanted to wait because I want to weld all the floors when I have the gas tank out. But be that as it may, that's going to be coming up. So again, if there's something you want to see me tackle on this Jeep, it probably needs to be done. So just let me know, and we'll try and get to that as well. Thanks again.